Okay, I finished the Daisy Yellow Index Card a Day Challenge, 61 days, held every June and July. And this is my cover. It's nature printed, and I did it on a divider card, which is a lot thicker. And this is an accordion book, so you might be able to see how it falls, and they're all taped on each side, accordion fashion, so it goes back and forth. That's my first page with a couple of drawings I copied to put in here from Stephen, my husband, made those. And then the next one is here. I'm going to have to slide this back and forth. That's more nature printing and stamping. And this one, I have a lot of quotes in here because I love quotes. I did a little drawing of these flowers that Stephen picked wild for me. And here is another bit of nature printing with some stamping and a quote. I did many different things, lots of paint with texture. I tried to keep it interesting, but there's certain things I like to do, so I kept repeating them. Sorry, I don't think you saw that there. That's the more paint with, I use a combing tool, and more nature printing, and this is just fooling around with paint, scrapbook paper, and spray dye ink. It's a little collage with a fabric piece. This was for our wedding anniversary on June 11th, 17 years, so second marriage for both of us, and there's my dad. He passed away in 2011, so it's really nice to have this beautiful little thing in here. And I was still on the wedding theme when I did the next day, a bit of collage, more paint and combing over here. Fabric, I'm always into fabric, but I got into sewing on the index cards with an Art Chick image. Little watercolor pencils. You can see how the edges are all taped there. This is some Art Chick images, June 16th. Collage with a magazine image. Oops, one page is in there. We've got the 18th and the 19th of June. More fabric with more decorative stitches over here, and just some coloring, painting, crayons, and paint on that page. And I got into magazine collages. I ripped some pages and put some things together. And here I did strips with alternating different strips underneath, and that was a lot of fun. This is a print I found. I think someone gave it to me with a quote. It's always the small pieces that make the big picture, like ICAD. Okay, here's some more paint with more texture and some strips just in a pattern. And this is collage and fabric and sewing. This is vintage. I pulled out my vintage stuff. Stamping, which I still love, even though I've been doing it about 25 or 30 years. And quotes from my own. I used to have a Lenna Lines quote company. I made rubber stamps for about 3 years. This is fabric sewn on. We're heading towards the end of June now. Some swooshes with stencil butter, very iridescent, and stamping. Then I got into 3 pages of vintage, and I did a little sewing on this one and more here. Oops, there we go. And here, it's kind of hard to film this by myself. Okay, and then here's some paint as a background, textured, probably used a palette knife on that, and stamping, and stenciling with stamps, and a quote. And these are papers I painted myself, and then I sewed them on together on my machine. A big quote that I fit onto the page by cutting it up. Some more crazy mixed media work. Tissue paper, there's a stencil underneath that. I liked how that turned out. This is an image transfer that was really old. I had made it but never transferred it to anything, and I had to keep peeling the paper off, but it finally worked and I was happy. That's a picture of Steve and me on Wolf Island in Ontario, Canada in 2006. So here is another strip collage, but it's done differently with different papers. Then we've got this with paint, some of my carved stamps. And this is a copy of an ATC that I made in 2010. It came out pretty well, and it was old and just hanging out in a box, and so I grabbed it. Seaside images. This is a transfer of my grandmother in an old car. It's on a tag. I learned that in a class. And more stencil butters because I really love the way they shine. And more combed acrylic paint. This one was done with a palette knife. And again, combed with, I was trying this fluorescent pink out. I think it's pretty cool. And another strip collage with magazine papers, stamping, and watercolor crayons, I believe that was. Then this is an image transfer of me when I was 10 months old, and it's surrounded by swirls of paint and a little paper. Another strip collage, but I'm trying a different thing. I put the strips down and then put paint over them, and combed acrylic paint, and I punched some out, and the punches that came out are very nice. I'll use them in something else. This was, again, combed paint. You can see I'm into that, but I did little pieces of fabric and I made a little weaving because I had seen someone doing weaving. More fabric with stitching, more drawing with colors that you can wet and activate them. This was kind of like a mandala because Tammy Garcia was talking about that. And there's some pastels there, iridescent, and I colored in with colored pencils. It was very relaxing. This, I went back to fabric with some velvet leaves. This is a image transfer of my grandfather, and he was born in 1878. I did a bunch of spray dyes. My friend Linda Kunzman had been doing a lot of it, and it really inspired me to get back into that. So I like this. It says, "Today is full of possibilities." Here's an art chick girl, which I love, with some other seaside images from Ruby and Pearl and a little stamp, a really old stamp. And the last card, July 31st, number 61, "The journey is the destination," and that's really true. It was celebratory. That's why it's going up like, woo, because I made it. 10th year, so that's pretty cool. Then before I added this card, this was the back. Can you see that? Yeah, and I didn't like that being the back, so I added another card. And then on the inside, there's a similar picture to the one before, and I said, "That was fun, ICAD 2022. Now, the other side is all my notes. I like to do this. I think I've done it every time I've done ICAD because I can remind myself of what I was using when I was making it or whatever was going on that day. It's like a little journal on the back. And then the whole thing, goes out like this if you wanted to. Oh, you can't even see. Wait a second. There we go. It's just tremendously long. I'll try to take a picture of it. Thank you so much for watching. I know this is kind of long. Thank you very much.